The ugly is it's just ugly sad, like ugly cry, where somebody comes to you and they're end stage something, and you remind them that you don't diagnose or treat, stick with your primary healthcare practitioner. I will try to support you, but you know that all you're doing is really helping to maybe make those last few months or whatever be a bit more manageable.
Welcome to the Unknown Options, the place where we explore the unknown options, the number one source for career apprehension and accessibility. My name is Will, and today I have with me Brenda. Brenda, it's great to have you here. Give us a rundown on who you are and what you do.
Sure, really good to be here. So I love this whole thing around apprehension. So you can tell I've been maybe apprehensive at different times in my life. I was and still do social work. I co-led a faith community for 20 years with my husband. I am currently mostly a holistic nutritionist specializing in epigenetics.
Thank you. Your journey is important and interesting. So we want to highlight the good, the bad, and the ugly. For someone who might not know, what is a holistic nutritionist who specializes in epigenetics?
Right. So holistic nutrition, as many people I've found who get into the nutrition field, whether it's as a registered dietitian or as a holistic nutritionist, they often have history of illness in their background. They just, for me, a sickly child, sickly teenager, sickly young adult, and they just couldn't figure out how to get a handle on what this was. And so I find a lot of times people are at this crossroads of, do I become a dietitian? I go to university, usually a 4-year at least degree. I had gotten healthy through seeing some holistic practitioners. And so I wanted the nutrition, I wanted the science, I wanted the anatomy, physiology, chemistry, organic chemistry, but I wanted a holistic approach that looked at the influence of body, mind, and spirit. And because of the previous professions that I had, it made sense to me to do training in holistic nutrition over, say, dietitian. Although I will tell you, if you're looking financially, there's a lot more extended health coverage for registered dietitians than there is for nutritionists. Okay, so I was like, oh, do I want to make money or I want to be true to my, to calling here? So, anyways, that's why I ended up in holistic nutrition, because you cover the sciences, but you look at things like environmental toxins. You look at what's called body symptomology. We don't diagnose or treat, but we can look at collections of symptoms and go, oh, okay, seems like something, with your nervous system or your digestive system is not being well supported. What can we do dietarily to change that? What can we look at supplements to change that? And then lifestyle, big and lifestyle, sleep, types of exercise you're doing, stress management. So it was kind of this perfect blend of everything I loved doing, meeting all in the same place. So that's why I ended up in holistic nutrition. Yeah.
Okay, I love that. And then this word epigenetics. What's this word epigenetics?
So I promise you that I don't just throw it around because it's kind of a cool word, although I think it is, okay? But what it is it actually means above genetics. I'm thinking Latin, if I'm remembering from when I last read it. And what it means really is the outside influences on the way that our genes express themselves. So the human genome was almost completely, probably 98% mapped about 20 years ago now, this past April this year. So this is probably the first time in my life I've ever been cutting edge, and probably will be the only time I ever will be, only because it's, we only mapped not me personally, but scientists only mapped the genome like 20 years ago. What that means is, we've known about DNA since my university days when I took biology, about if you get this strand of DNA from your mom and this strand of DNA from your dad, and you get your own combination of those genes, and that's your unique expression. But we never had actually mapped them out so that we knew that there was an FTO gene. We knew that there was a DRD2 gene, and they all have a big long RS number. Then we started being able to understand what that gene actually did in the body. And so epigenetics is simply the study of what the things that you can do that are in your control that can positively affect the way that your genes express themselves. So, you get people who go, oh, my family, we have really bad genes, whatever. We have bad mental health genes, or we have bad obesity genes, or we have whatever, bad whatever genes. And it's not that there aren't genes that are potentially more challenging, okay? Like, for example, a gene that might have to do with the way that you regulate dopamine or how you produce dopamine or the receptors you have for dopamine, obviously helping with your sense of pleasure in life or motivation or perseverance. A lot of other things that dopamine does, but that's kind of in a nutshell. So obviously, if you have a genetic propensity to not make very much dopamine, or it's swept away, degraded very rapidly, that can actually affect the way that you maybe pursue pleasure-seeking activity, maybe potentially addictions, maybe online shopping, maybe risky sexual behavior, whatever, like things that would help bring you joy. So people will say, oh, I have really bad dopamine genes. So what doesn't mean that they have to be expressed. You have the ability. Dr. Oz said it very craftily, but I think accurately, when he said genetics loads the gun, but epigenetics, so nurture, what you do, is actually what pulls the trigger or not, whether that gene is allowed to be expressed. So it's a very exciting field. It allows you to be much more sense of control about what you can do for your overall wellness once you understand some of the genes that you have that operate in certain ways. So is that enough of it? Are you blanking or are you good?
No, that's good. It's a great explanation. I was just thinking about that quote you said. That was a really good quote. So epigenetics is just really like the control aspect of like above genetics, essentially.
Yeah. So it's like you have genes, and I run a 12-week program where we help people reset their genes, and I had a client say to me, so does this mean that if I had genes that were challenging in the way that I respond to, say, saturated fat, how much saturated fat I should eat in a day? So if I do these things, then is it going to change my genes? And I'm like, no, you can't change your genes. Like, your genes are your genes. Like, you got it from your mom, you got them from your dad.
Yeah.
What you can do, though, and that's where this nurture, always trumping nature, comes in, is you can cause that gene to, say, not be expressed. Or like if someone has like the breast cancer gene or whatever, or a gene towards early onset Alzheimer's or whatever, you have the ability to do some things that minimize the way that gene is expressed or affect the way that gene is expressed. So it's very cool and hopeful, I think, for a lot of people.
It's definitely interesting. I'm definitely gonna do some digging into it after we get off. But I mean, I know you're gonna dive a little deeper into it during this conversation. On like a different note,
Yeah.
Why are holistic nutritionists important, and what do they contribute to like general public or society?
So I think that the role that we play is that we are very reality based. So people come to us, they usually have a litany of complaints, digestive issues, headaches, whatever. We always start by saying, we're not a GP, we don't diagnose, we don't treat, but we do intake forms that look at, again, these different, called symptomatology, the messages your body is giving. And those symptoms are broken down per category. So is it a digestive issue? Is it a skeletal issue? Is it a glandular issue? Is it whatever? And based on the collection of symptoms, because one symptom can be caused by lots of different systems out of whack, you start going, well, most of your symptoms are in, say, digestive. So why don't we start there? Let's see if we can't. Maybe you're not making enough enzymes. Maybe you're gluten intolerant. Maybe you can't actually digest lactose. Let's see if we can adjust your dietary intake so your digestion starts calming down. You're digesting your food better. You don't have, food in your stool that shouldn't be there. And let's start there, because then you'll start to have more energy. Then you start, you can adjust some of the other things. So I think they're important because we give really practical suggestions A lot of times people come, they're frustrated. They've had these symptoms for a lot of years. They've talked to lots of healthcare practitioners, but they haven't, maybe they've got a medication, and there's definitely roles for medication. I'm not saying anything contrary to that, but they never got, like I say, a diet plan, or
Yeah.
here, you need a different sleep hygiene pattern. Like, you're having trouble with sleep. Can you try these 3 things, and let's adjust along the way. So I think they feel partnered with, and that someone is actually listening well, coming up with strategies that are not just a sheet being handed to them and say, come back to me in a month. It's like, let's talk next week. Let's see what's working well, what you might need to adjust. So I think that, yeah, they feel partnered in that body detective work, you know?
Okay. Yeah, definitely. It's interesting we're having this conversation. Me and my wife, we watched a documentary on Netflix called Poison a few days ago. And I wanted to ask you, it's kind of random, but I think it ties into the conversation. What are like your clients you have, are most of their issues like from the food that we consume, or?
So it comes from a variety of places. The 4 main areas that I call my no matter what. These are the things we're going to cover if you work with me. One of them is absolutely nutrition.
Okay.
Okay. And, getting as clean food sources as possible, realizing, that everyone's budget is different. And if you're so stressed out because you can't find grass-fed meat that's, raised with no hormones or whatever, that's going to probably be as stressful for you as eating the regular old, corner store beef. So you
Yeah.
got to realize that you can't just give things for people to do that are going to tax them in other ways. Okay. But yeah, nutrition is totally one of them. Everybody can reduce refined grains and sugars. Like, that's not going to cost you anything. That's going to probably save you money. And we do know that ultra processed foods just bring nothing to any of us. So that's an easy start. Okay. The second thing that we look at is sleep, because it's huge. There's so many things that happen when we're sleeping. And if we're not falling asleep easily, or we're waking up in the night and having trouble getting back to sleep, or we're waking up too early, or we're just restless and we never have enough time to get into a proper sleep cycle in each of the different areas of REM sleep, et cetera, that we need, that's going to take a toll on us. So nutrition is huge, sleep is huge, detoxification is huge. I don't know what the Poison documentary you listened to exactly is, but I'm imagining that part of it was talking about environmental toxins. Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it was about like a lot of like the E. coli and salmonella breakouts, like the lettuce and like the chicken. It was going to like different like breakouts. So it's definitely like environmental.
Yeah, and it makes you decide you're not going to eat any food anymore.
Exactly.
So absolutely, that is a component of it. Is just like the adverse bacteria that are coming in through some of the food sources. It's also things like herbicides and pesticides that are on food sources. It is we don't have this in Canada, which is where I'm from, but I know the U.S. does make some use of bovine growth hormone with some of the dairy products. So you just have a number of layers. Not one of in itself is going to be like, oh, that's going to be the deal breaker. But it's a composite matter of this. And I listened to an ND a number of years ago, and he said, literally, it's in the last 100 years, we have more environmental toxins produced than the whole remainder of time that humans have been on existence. So we're wondering why our bodies are trying to valiantly keep up with this, and our liver every day is like, time out, I'm trying to process the stuff from yesterday, So that's why this third, no matter what, after the food and the sleep, is detoxification, because you have to support your phase 1 and your phase 2 detoxification in your body. And that's one of the things that holistic nutritionists are trained in, is how can we help your body? How can we support your liver? And with the component with the genetics, we actually know what your phase 1 and phase 2 genes are doing. So if we need to slow them down or speed them up, we change your diet a little bit with that, recommend different kinds of supplements, castor oil packs on your liver, some old school things like that have been used for like generations in Europe and that. So we use a variety of means of like things that have traditional use, different kinds of herbs, for example, which nicely, because I love doing research, a lot of them show up on PubMed now as well, so I can go in there. I just was searching this week for a type of hydrotherapy called warming socks that you can use with children that are having fevers or adults or whatever. And it's nice now that I can actually find studies on PubMed for this generations old European kind of remedy. Okay. So I think I like that intersection with holistic nutrition as well. So detox, food, sleep, and then the last one is inflammation. And it's inflammation that we now know is just a root issue for so many diseases, so many issues, the classic stuff like arthritis and, gut issues and irritable bowel syndrome and ongoing headaches, etc. But just low-grade inflammation that's running rampant in the body all the time that takes a stress on us. And if we can reduce that, then again, through cool things that have long history of use, ending, your shower with a cold blast, which everyone's their favorite thing, especially when you live in Canada in winter. But simple things like that, avoiding foods that are pro-inflammatory. Again, the sugars or the refined grains and that, drinking herbal teas, lots of water. So there are things that you can do to help manage and keep inflammation at bay. And I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to say the fifth one, but the fifth one would, no matter what, would be stress management. And that's where my social work pastoral hack comes in. Like, you could be eating amazingly, trying to get to sleep on time, you're doing your workouts well, and you're just have abundance of stress, whether that is generational trauma, whether that is family of upbringing, origin stuff, whether that's your current work things, relationships, and basically that all that excess cortisol and epinephrine, norepinephrine, all the variety of hormones that come into play when our body feels like stress is happening, those are going to adversely impact probably 70 to 90% of your genes. So even your genes that are, decent genes, that they've given you good, ways you digest food, good ways that you, whatever, can fall asleep easily at night. That stress is happening. And it's almost like, I tell people, it's like you have an electrical panel of all your genes, and they're all nicely in the good position. Everything's going hunky-dory. Massive stress hits, pandemic, whatever. It's like you have a cortisol power surge, and they just flip, and bam, there you go. So learning how to meditate, centered prayer, mindfulness, being in the forest, whatever is your go-to happy place that allows you to move from sympathetic dominance to parasympathetic, rest and recuperate, got to have those in place. So those 5 things, you're going to be set.
Okay, I love it. Oh man, you said you made some great points. I knew the first 2, but detoxification, I always see the detoxes like in the bottles and the kombuchas, all that kind of stuff, but I've never actually done it myself. But then the inflammation also, and then the stress management. Like, I know men like me, I know I definitely I don't even acknowledge stress sometimes, but I know it affects me.
I know. Well, it's probably good that you didn't just go buy off-the-shelf detox kit, because now that it's only been the last 5 years that I've known about the genetics and the epigenetics, and I could never figure out why some of my clients, they would do a really good juice fast. Not one that I didn't necessarily recommend juice fast. They would come to me and say, "Man, I don't know what's wrong with me. I've been juicing kale and broccoli, and I've been doing this thing for 6 days now. I feel like crap, my skin's all breaking out, my head is going." I would just tell them, this is not good for you. I don't know what's going on, but you should stop this, okay?
Yeah.
Now I know that if someone has, I mentioned those 2 phases of detox in the body, if someone already has a faster phase 1, which it's the first one that breaks down when your neighbor sprays their lawn with pesticides and herbicides, or you go for a run and you produce free radicals. It's a natural byproduct of exercise, for example. That phase 1 breaks those down into less damaging metabolites. But the key is your phase 2, which is what converts them to a water-soluble form, so you can excrete them to your kidneys or your bowels or your sweat or your lungs. That has to be up to speed, because if you're just pumping out these phase one metabolites, and your phase
Yeah.
two, kind of like the liver, is going like, whoa, too many, I cannot handle these.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to get. And one of the things that speeds up phase one, raw cruciferous vegetables. So if someone is drinking juiced kale like a week going, they have just their phase one into overdrive. And then I'll look at their genes and I'll go, oh my goodness, you have really slow phase two. Like even if you would have had normal phase two, you would have been taxing it. But we got to stop the juicing, stop. Let's get you, we'll slow that down instead and help your second phase. So those are the kind of fun things you get to do.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I know you said you're on cutting edge now with epigenetics to last like 5-10 years. What led you to holistic nutrition? What was like your path from high school to college? You went to college to how'd you end up to where you are currently?
So high school to college, university was me trying to decide if I was going to be a writer or physical education teacher. There was no nutrition in the mix, okay. And my university writing instructor wanted me to become a writer, and I said, you're probably going to think I'm really money driven. I'm not. I just said, look, I got to make a living. I'm not going to become a writer.
Yeah.
So I kind of went to PE, and I thought, no, like I come from a lovely family, but it has their fair share of dysfunctionality. I think I'm going to become a social worker and see if I can process some of this, okay? So that was the social work, and I loved it. I worked for 10 years in that field with primarily with really challenged adolescents. I was social worker of a closed unit where it was kind of a combination of the Attorney General, Ministry of Health, Education, and Family and Children's Services. I was a social worker for the unit. I loved it. Very stressful, and my health was completely falling apart. And so that's where I made the move to see this. One of my girlfriends said, you're really wrecked. Like you fall asleep on the couch all the time. You're cranky as all get out. And she said, frankly, I think you used to be smarter. Thank you very much. So anyways, when I saw this, he was a member of Mensa. He was a very smart gentleman. He was a scientist. He did a lot of the vitamin formulations for a number of the Canadian supplement companies. Plus he was a master herbalist. So very holistically science-based. And he basically saved my life. So that was then I thought, oh, I need to pay attention to this nutrition component. And once we have 5 kids, and once the youngest went into kindergarten, I thought, okay, I'm going back to school. And that was then the fluctuation between registered dietitian, holistic nutritionist, and I swung to the holistic nutritionist. And in Canada, it's a 2-year certification program. So I did that, and that was 20 years ago. So I never really looked back. After that, I just kind of combined that with the social work training, and I get to write all the time. And so,
nice.
Yeah, I kind of got everything.
So it worked out, honestly. Okay. Yeah. I know we're in a little time crunch, so we're gonna head to the not so speed round.
Yeah.
It's been a great conversation. So we're definitely gonna bring you on for a part 2 so we can dive deeper into like your career. But okay. I wanna get like a full conversation.
Sure.
What are 4 words that describe a holistic nutritionist?
I would say practical, science-based, and hope-inspiring. I kind of cheated. I got double hyphenated words.
Why? Elaborate on practical for us.
I feel like we are just so, okay, here. Tell me, what are you doing? What do you think you can handle? If I'm going to suggest that you start eating protein 3 times a day, can you do 3 meals a day? Do you feel better on intermittent fasting? Like a lot of dialogue. And then I come up with a game plan with them. And when they leave their session with me, I say, now we're not leaving here until you feel like you have a plan that you have at least an 80% chance of being able to follow through on. Because it just makes no sense to me if I give you this brilliant plan and you're like, I'm never going to do that. Like I said, push back, talk back, so very practical. Here's some recipes. Here's how you do castor oil packs. This is what I mean by a sleep hygiene routine. Here's how I want you fitting walks in your day, So it's like, what of these can you do? How can I make this work?
I like that. I've never heard that because I've done so many diets in my life, but I've never like had someone say like push back on the diet to what you would actually adhere to. It's pretty genius, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like I don't get brownie points for handing out great diet plans.
Yeah,
I actually feel satisfied if clients' lives turn around.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That means that you have your heart in the right place, and then frankly, you know what you're doing too at the same
Thank you.
time. What's a profession that's most like a nutritionist? You would say.
Man, I heard you ask that of another guest, and I was thinking, my goodness, like I'm gonna do a made up
Okay.
profession, which I would call it a body detective, like
Mm.
like somebody who helps you explore the messages your body is giving and helps you interpret them, like kind of analyze them and interpret them and come up with a game plan with them. So yeah, it's like detective work, not just you doing it, like you're doing it in partnership with the client. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. When you said that by detective, I was trying to think. Is like, is there like a profession that's like similar to that with a name? But I can't think of anything.
Well, I don't think so. I suppose it could be like, um, like, like not a Lincoln Lawyer, but like, they've got a few shows out where there's someone that's a detective and doing lots of analysis. I suppose something like that,
That,
but yeah, yeah,
okay, no, I like it. It makes sense. Okay,
yeah.
what does society look like without holistic nutritionists?
Like I don't like. First off, it would survive. Okay, we're not we're not like essential. Okay,
Yeah.
my daughter's a labor delivery nurse. She's essential. Okay,
Okay.
but what I think it loses without having holistic nutritionists is that it loses a straddling between science, between tradition, between things that have like a long history of use and that might actually still be valuable today. Like I kind of feel like we're kind of keepers of like, I don't know, like not like good old wives' tales, okay? Like,
Yeah.
things that you kind of, like, we actually go, oh, there's some science to that. That's a good thing. So I feel like we're a keeper of sound, practical, anybody should be able to tap into this kind of wellness potential. And so I think we would miss that. And I feel like for the most part, we're very encouraging, and we're not judgmental. We're not like we might be weight neutral and not think that weight is a big deal. If I have a client that comes to me and wants to lose weight, I'm not going to tell them that that's silly and they shouldn't be doing that. That
Yeah.
we'll work on, let's just get healthy and see what your body naturally wants to land at.
Yeah.
But I want to meet clients where they are and help move them to a more well placed. Yeah.
Definitely. I love it. Give us the good, the bad, and the ugly about being a health nutritionist.
Well, it's changing now. Okay.
Yeah.
So like I have some clients now that actually they have coverage under their extended health benefits for holistic nutritionists. So like that's a big change in 20
Yeah.
years. Okay. Because initially I would say I wasn't feeling, you don't get a lot of respect.
Mm.
Uh, you know, um, and I have some friends that are registered dietitians and they're great and I respect them. But that,
Yeah.
that field in general uh, didn't necessarily respect holistic nutrition. They,
Mm.
I think, saw it as less science-based, and we have less years of training, so you
Yeah.
would have a less commensurate basis of that. I think, and there was a lot of lobbying back and forth and kind of raining on each other's praise, which I don't find is very helpful. I think let's
Yeah.
recognize we each have skills and strengths that work together.
Yeah.
Okay. I see the field is changing again, as there's more science backing up some of the things that we have talked about. We've always been anti-toxin and cleaning livers and whatever. And lo and behold, there's a lot of science now that that's a really good thing,
Yeah.
done in the proper ways. So I feel like it is getting easier. There's more validation for it.
Mm.
And maybe this is one of the good and the bad things. Is the
Yeah.
bad thing was there wasn't a lot of respect. The flip side of that was you had to do it because you really believed in it. Like if
True.
you were doing it because you wanted like a badge, or I don't know, I should have stayed in social work. Like that's my
Yeah.
respected profession, you
Yes,
know.
ma'am.
Um, so yeah, so that would be the good, the bad, the ugly. The ugly, the ugly is just, it's just ugly sad, like ugly cry, where somebody comes to you and they're end stage something, and you remind them that you don't diagnose or treat, stick with your primary healthcare practitioner. I will try to support you, but
Yeah.
you know that all you're doing is really helping to maybe make those last few months or whatever be a bit more manageable. Those are
Yeah.
like ugly and ugly cry, ugly sad things,
Yeah.
because we don't have the ability to restore everybody all the time. Some people are too sick or
Yeah.
to have too much going on. And so you just support them, but you
Yeah.
know it is going, unless it's sort of a crazy miracle, it is going to
Yeah.
be a client that you're going to lose, you know. Yeah.
That was like the deepest ugly we've had on the show so far. But I mean, it's definitely heartfelt. It's definitely true. So some people you can't help. And then okay, we have two more questions. I know we're on a time clock.
Good.
Um,
Yeah.
are you underpaid or overpaid as the nutritionist? I know you kind of hinted at it earlier with the dietitian and the other pathway.
Oh, again, you're going to get probably a deep answer here. I think we're underpaid. I have gotten better. I mean, I've set my own prices. Obviously, I'm self-employed, so
Yeah.
I have gotten better. I've taken business courses and I've taken, marketing courses and whatever, and done a better job of valuing the years of experience and the training, et cetera, et cetera. I've learned better ways of putting things together. Um, in my whole 20 years of doing this, this will probably be my best year ever, putting into place the kinds of things that I've learned. Um, so I think it's getting better. People understand more what you do to put together the programs you run. I run more programs, so group programs are a more lucrative way to produce income than one-on-one. And like I said, I think that now there's a recognition in the insurance industry. People are asking to see nutritionists, so that will help, because when my client just got back to me and said the maximum hourly rate that their plan allowed them to cover, I was like, dang, I need to up my hourly rate. so,
Hey, yeah.
so that was pretty fun. So I would say
Nice.
we're underpaid, but it's getting better that we
Nice.
can do that. And the flip side of that is I left social work specifically to work from home. We had 5 young kids. I chose to stay home with them.
Yeah.
And so this enabled me to do that. So the fact
Yeah.
that I was underpaid also meant I could attend soccer games, be home with the kids, raise them all like little mini hippies and have them all healthy and
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't pay as much money, but we have 5 freaking amazing adult children and 6 amazing grandchildren that my husband and I remind ourselves that we
Yeah.
would not, if I hadn't done that, we wouldn't have had this. So you've got to always a trade-off,
Yeah, yeah, always a trade-off. Always a
Yeah,
trade-off. So yeah, money is definitely not the end for, or it shouldn't be the end for most decision-making
yeah,
processes.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. What's one person, book, or event that changed the trajectory of your life?
I'll give you 2. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
one is actually an American nutritionist by the name of Anne Louise Gittleman. I heard her speak at a conference, and this was before I'd gone back and done my training in nutrition. And she, unbeknownst to herself, she will not know this now, but she was the impetus to me now being in epigenetics. And this is before, the genome was even mapped. This is probably 27, 28 years ago. And what she did, she wrote a book called, oh my goodness, your body, your body knows itself. Oh my goodness. Anyways, Alan Louise Gittleman, it'll come to me. Anyways, it would have to do with metabolic typing, with the fact that everyone is different. And even though she wasn't even using terms like genetics in it, She was just talking about different body types and how some types need more protein, sometimes need more fat, sometimes need more carbohydrates. And it was a revelation to me because I had everybody on a healthy trajectory, moving towards a vegetarian diet, including my 6'2" ex-football player German husband. Whatever made me think that he would be genetically wired for a vegetarian diet, I do not know. Okay, but she was like my wake up woman. You cannot just find something that works for you and then put that onto everybody else. So that was a huge, huge turning point. I used her data always in she had a survey in there. I used that always in my nutritional consulting. And so I would say she was huge, huge, huge in that. And then the other person, this is going to sound, you think this is kind of wimpy, but it literally is my husband. Okay.
Nice.
So he is a great guy. He's been married, I don't know, I can't remember, 45 years. I think.
Oh man, okay. Nice.
A lot. Okay. And I remember flopping down the couch by him one day and saying, I do not know what is wrong with me. Like, I had a great career in social work. I loved it. I was really good at it. Then we did this co-pastoring thing, which was great. We worked really well together. I love this. But now I want to go back into nutrition. Like, is something wrong with me? Am I just flighty? Like, what the heck? Yeah. And he just said, no. He said, I think it's because there are so many things that you're supposed to be doing and putting together that you just haven't done them all yet. Like, having somebody who's got your back, even when you are thinking, I am a nut job. Like, I can't decide whether I'm going to grow up and decide what to do with my life. And now that I'm sitting where I am and I see every single thing layered and it was exactly what it was supposed to be. So yeah, I'm pretty grateful to him. Yeah.
I love it. I think you're my 39th guest. And I've asked that question to every guest, and you're the first person who said their spouse. I promise you. And I've been waiting on it. I've been waiting on it though. So I like it. I've been waiting on it.
Awesome. All right. Okay. And you didn't even prime me. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
No, that was perfect. Well, Brenda, give. This has been an amazing interview. We're definitely going to bring you on again because we didn't get to have our full conversation. It was a great conversation, but we didn't have a full conversation. Give a few words, like shout out your business and your nutritionist stuff, and then give a few words to somebody that's like maybe wants to be nutritionist in the future. They don't know where to go or how to navigate. Give them some few tips on how to get to that career.
Sure. So if you're looking for me, it's pretty simple. Just go online, Brenda Wollenberg, or Imbalance LM. It's lifestyle management, imbalancelm.com. My website can give you lots of details on it. On the genetic stuff and beyond. And if you're thinking you want to be a nutritionist, just like I would do a little kind of deep thinking. One of the things I teach in my practice is OCC. So objectivity, curiosity, and compassion. So just take a step backwards and just objectively third person figure out what it is you want, what it is about nutrition that you like. Like, is it that you want to make money? Probably go somewhere else. Is it that you want to help people? Well, this is a really helpful thing. Can you put up with a little bit of pushback when people don't necessarily respect it? Can you are you willing to really dialogue with clients and wrestle with them and be in their faces if need be? And if you keep on going, tick, absolutely. Then that's when you start getting curious and exploring, because depending where you are in Canada or the US or beyond, there will be different schools you can take. So always look for one that's going to be accredited for you to, when you're finished it, register. Because registration then is something you do annually. You do so many training and upgrading hours, but that means that you're staying abreast in the field. And so don't take a training program and then go, oh, shoot, nobody accepts that training program. Okay. So do your due diligence, ask some questions. There's a couple of regulation bodies in Canada. Go on their website, see what courses they accept, and the same thing will be in the States. There'll be some, and just do then what, and you usually have to have some prereqs. So some, at least high school biology, chemistry, that kind of thing. You may have to do a little bit of upgrading first. So the sciences are usually what will get you. If you haven't had any recent sciences, you'll need to upgrade a bit for that. But then just, be prepared to learn a ton and really keep on lifelong learning, because this field is just exploding. So it's pretty cool.
I love it. Brenda, this has been a wonderful episode. I'm definitely going to tag your website in the thumbnails. People will have it. Thank you for your time. Everybody that stayed this long, please comment, like, and subscribe, and go reach out to Brenda and get fixed. Thank you, guys. Y'all have a nice night.
Thank you for having me. I loved chatting with you. Have a great rest of your day. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Brenda.